Yao checking in. We are here in West Africa and we are preparing for the Sabbath. This week we are doing, this weekend is, of course, Passover, getting together with the congregation near to us, and we are celebrating with them. It's been kind of a wild couple of weeks. We haven't been doing a whole lot. As you can see, the moon nearing its fullness. It should be full tomorrow for the feast. Looks pretty full today, but we're getting it in there. I just wanted to come on here and just rap with y'all for a second, kind of relax and chill out. My dog is right there. I see him. He's looks like he's want to go inside. I suppose we'll let him go inside in a little while here. I don't have a whole lot of time here. I probably shouldn't have jumped on because my phone only has, oh my gosh, it only has 7% of battery life left. So I'm not going to be able to do too much talking on here. Maybe we'll let it and I'll come back on a little bit later. Not a whole lot going on in the news either. We know we've got this tariff war that's going on between the United States and China, and it's kind of going back and forth. So I spoke about this. I'm sorry, a little bit of saliva with that one. I spoke about this a few weeks ago about the tariff wars that Trump was starting before, the bottom fell out, which was last week. And then the bottom came back up, right, and went through the roof. And we can see just very plainly that President Trump manipulated the stock market, putting the tariffs in effect to allies, enemies alike. Sent the stocks into disarray, not knowing where the next or when the next drop was going to come, psychologically played on people's mind in the market, so they got out of market. And so as soon as he caved, as soon as Trump caved, the market boosted back up tremendously. So the people who were on the inside could have, I saw a statistic that there was a specific stock that you could have invested in, or maybe a series of stocks that you could have invested in on last Friday. If you would have invested $1,000 last Friday, by this Friday you would have been up $1 million. And now this is what I mean about the stock market. It's like gambling, right? It's like a psychological gambling system that they have in place, right? That you can earn money on. So it's a wild thing. It's a thing that is, manipulatable, that you can't necessarily trust. But Trump played everybody. Trump kind of played everybody. And, people are recognizing that. People are realizing that, hey, he is doing these things to profit off of it, to benefit financially for him and his buddies. He's a businessman. So he's going to, use the country like his casinos. He's gonna, bust down whenever he wants. He's gonna, invest whenever he wants. And he's also gonna watch the market. And since what he does is going to be kind of the calling card for the entire rest of the world, or the cue for the rest of the world, everybody's setting their marks on what he's doing, then any dramatic action or erratic action can cause a predictable, do you see what I'm saying? Can cause a predictable reaction. And so that's what he's doing. He's behaving what may seem to be erratically, but allowing them, but playing the stock market. allowing it to react to his reactions, and then kind of giving his buddies a heads up so he can get paid on the back end. He's a criminal. He's a con artist. This is how artists operate. Just no way around it, you guys. So we're in some very wild times right now. And in these wild times, we have to really stay. We have to make sure that we know and understand. We have to make sure we read and watch, you guys. We know Yah Elohim is over us and protecting our people in specific situations. We know that he's putting us in predicaments in other situations. We know that it is all about understanding him and his Mashiach. So we have to follow and be able to be, kind of one step ahead, before we, make a deduction. We have to really weigh all the evidence before we do something. I'll tell you also that I did not talk about these wild swings and with the tariffs. I didn't talk about them at all because I didn't see what happening. I didn't have a crystal ball to be able to see these wild swings and amount of money that was being made. The scam. I did not see the scam before he scammed. But I knew something was going on, and I couldn't tell what. Do you see what I'm saying? What they like to do in the media is set traps for you. They like to set traps so that you can believe one thing, and then once more information comes out, if you jump the gun and report on it too soon, or report a conclusion too soon, then when additional information comes out that proves that original conclusion to be wrong, then you're kind of stuck like, oh, okay, well, how do you mean? And that's how they like to report sometimes. They like to, have the event take place and then release certain information leading you one direction, and then watch people jump on that. And then once enough will jump on that conclusion, release the secondary information that's contrary to the conclusion, or, if they're releasing the information, they're releasing it in a way that steers you in a direction, and then release secondary information that steers you in a different direction. And then when you've gone in that first direction, you look crazy because now everybody who waited or everybody who watched has gone along with that second one. Or the people who didn't say anything have seen, okay, well, the scene has changed, the players have changed, so now the things that you said, the conclusion that you made, doesn't make sense with the information that we have. And so you have to really watch to not get caught in that. And this is what was happening with the taxes, right? So what happened was, the tariffs, what happened was that people start selling, that everybody put out, oh, you better get out the stock market because it's dropping, it's bottom out. You better get out, you better get out. And this is, I think, these operatives, these agents kind of stirring the pot to make people believe that it's true. Oh my gosh, you better get out of the stock market while you can. And while I believe this to be true, I surely don't think that you should have of your money in the stock market because it's just a volatile thing. It'll drop out and then you'll have nothing. Like we saw on Friday, or was it Friday? It was Thursday or Friday. And then on Monday, we saw it swing back. So the people had dropped down to nothing on Friday and sold. Do you see what I'm saying? They put out on Facebook, they put out on YouTube and lots of social media that, oh, you better sell before you lose everything you got. So the people that sold on Friday, the people that sold their stocks on Friday, literally missed out in two ways. Missed out because they sold at rock bottom, right? They sold all of their stocks at rock bottom. So they, weren't able to make even what the stock was originally worth, being at rock bottom. Then they missed out when the stocks rebounded. And I mean, they rebounded like 1,000%, something crazy. And so you missed out twice. Whereas if you would have stayed in the market, you would have saw your stock drop to almost zero, But then over the weekend, or when they opened back up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you would have saw your stock soar through the roof. Do you see what I'm saying? So they used they used their political power to influence buyers on a ground level, influence sellers on a ground level, and convince people to sell, through their social media content, and then just drop the tariffs for put a pause on tariffs on Monday, and then boom, over over on Monday, you see right away that when the pause, Trump was signaling that he would pause anything, right? Pause any tariffs. But when he did the 90-day pause on Monday, the stock soared through the roof. The stock, took off. So those people that sold on Friday lost the original value of their stock, and they lost the rebound value of the stock. So it was a con. It was a con. It was just straight up a con. It's a game. Shalom, shalom. I don't know who's on, but shalom, shalom. It was a con game. It was a scheme. Do you see what I'm saying? It was a scheme that was hoisted by the president, that was hoisted upon America, and the people who fell for it fell for it. And he has used it. Even coming out of the media saying, "Oh well, my buddies became even richer." Waiting this out. Do you see what I'm saying? Just putting out he did say, "I'll just wait this out. You'll see at the end." But of course, he says a bunch of different things. So nobody believes him when he says this or that. But the people who are in the know and did wait, if they had $1 million in the market, now they've got like 450 million. Do you see what I'm saying? This is, outstanding rebound that happened on Monday. One of the great, they said it was one of the greatest one-day gains. I think what the statistic was is that it was the the fourth greatest one-day gain in all of stock market history, which is mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing the way that this is happening, the way it's going down. And so we see that. We see that that he's toying and playing with the stock market to his advantage, which if you know that he's that he's an Atlantic City mafia member, New York, German mafia, I guess you would say. If you Ku Klux Klan, New York, German mafia, if you know that that's what he is, then you're not surprised by any of these things that you see. Do you see what I'm saying? You're not surprised when the Ponzi scheme drops. You're surprised when he's using his rhetoric to control the stock market. You're surprised when, he's influencing other countries just based off of, ranting in the media, influencing the economies of other countries. And it's not over yet, you guys. It's just, we're right still here in the middle of it because the game's still going on. You have 125% tariffs that are put on American goods going into China. But, the original tariffs that caused those 125% increases are because imposed 140% tariff tax, basically, on Chinese goods that come into America. And there's 4 times as many Chinese goods that come into America than American goods that go into China. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not China that's really going to be severely disabled by the American goods coming in, but it is China that's going to be severely disabled by Chinese goods going out. So it will affect their economy in a negative way. It won't affect the millionaires because the millionaires are already millionaires, and whatever they've got, they've got. It'll affect the people. It'll affect the people on the ground. And guess what? It'll affect the people on both sides. It won't affect either government, but it'll affect both populations. And severely affect both populations. So you're talking about if you've 150% tax on every Chinese good coming into the country, you've got a $10, let's just say you got $20 Walmart sneakers coming from China, the brand $20 Walmart sneakers. If Walmart is getting them $10, if they're making them for $10, you're talking about 150% tax. So 150% of $10 is $15. Talking about a pair of shoes that they bought for $10 now costing $25. And let's just say you are marking it up, 50%. So those, shoes that you'd be 20 bucks are now 32. What's half of 25? Is it 13? Somewhere around there. So $33, what you're paying, $32.50, what you're paying for the $20 pair of shoes. But, look at that just across the board on all Chinese goods that you're paying, all of this extra money for, did I do math right? Did I do that math right? I think I did. I think I did that math correctly. So you're looking at paying a whole lot extra just for a lot of the most common things that you have. Do you see what I'm saying? I used a pair of off-brand tennis shoes as an example, but you have, name brand. You got Nikes that are $100, right? Nike tennis shoes. We don't support Nike because Nike is, of course, a Greek god, and so we haven't Nike in 10 years. But let's just say you wear Nike and you want to buy these $100 pair of shoes. So now if you got 125% tariffs, if it costs $50 to make shoes, and now you've got what's 150% of 50. So that's what, $75? You got $125 for those shoes. Now you're going to make $50, so you're charging double. So instead of $100, so now you're paying $200 for the shoes, right? Am I messing up my math here? Am I getting my $200 for the shoes? Where they were $100, now you're going to pay $2? You see what I'm saying? And this is just something that is just, basic math, basic statistics, basic percentages on goods. So you have to just see that most of the cheap products that come into America are coming in from China. And so most people that are purchasing and consuming these cheap products, are the people that are middle and lower class people. And so it will affect, the price of the cost of living now is higher because of these tariffs. The cost of living is going up because of the tariffs, you guys. This is what's happening. You have higher, it costs more to live now since he's started doing these things. It costs more to live. And we were already going through, the eggs, the price of groceries, already going through some very, very, very tough times with the cost of living, with, being able to take care of yourself and your family. Already very hard. Now it's going to be much harder. Now it's going to be even worse. And so with China and America doing these things, it is an investment in warfare against the people. Now, you say, okay, well, who would, invest that type of money into harming their own populations? Well, you can see that this is what is going on anyway, that all money being spent is to propagandize or pronounce war. That this is what all money from the government is used for, is used to steer your mind in a certain direction or attack. And so what you're seeing is an attack. You're seeing Trump, putting these tariffs on China as an attack on the United States population, you guys. You have to recognize that the wars aren't government versus government anymore. The wars are government versus people. That's a war right now. You don't have the Chinese government going to war with the American government, no matter what it looks like. You don't have that anymore. Back in 1949, was it 1949? The MAD agreement. I think it was a MAD agreement where all of the countries that had nuclear capability or were looking to gain nuclear capability in the next, years, in the next decade or so, came together and made a pact not to attack one another. I think it was called MAD. It was mutually assured destruction. I think mutually assured destruction. That if one nuclear bomb is sent out and it's going towards another country with a nuclear bomb, then both countries would be assured mutually, a mutual assured destruction. That both countries would be, there would be a assuredness of both countries being destroyed. This is what I'm trying to say here. Mutually assured destruction. So at that time, you guys, I think it was like 7, 8, maybe 10 countries at that time. And of course, the list has grown and grown and grown. But at that time, they made a pact not to attack one another. And so from that moment on, it became a group. It became a consolidated unit. And this was something that, I had sworn off Christian reading, for a long time. And I thought, okay, well, there's nothing that I can get out of this. We have, Israelites, we've gone beyond Christian understanding, or so we thought. We don't think that way really now. But back then we were a little bit, I guess you could say, we were a little bit arrogant in our interpretation that no other group had any correct interpretation besides Israel. But that's just not true. We know that there's truth in Islam, there's truth in Christianity, truth in some of these other religions too. But we know that the full truth, the whole story, is in the scriptures, in the Bible. And the religions that use the Bible will have a part of that truth. So, with all that being said, my mother gave me a book to read, and I said, okay, well, I'll skim through it. And she's like, this is a good book. It's a Christian book, so it's good. You need to check it out. I said, yeah, mama. And I start checking it out, and he goes into this MAD agreement. And I said, wow, this is really prophetic right here, because this is what is going on right now. This is clear that this style of warfare is what's happening right now, that the way the world wages war changed in the 40s. It changed with Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the atomic bombs that were dropped on Japan. When people saw the destruction that is capable to be inflicted upon a country, they became aware of their own demise as a people, as a nation, as a governing body. That it's too easy to do now, so we have to come together, because we are not fighting one another. We're fighting to stay in power. This is, basically the key to the tin-horn, beast system of, the 20th and 21st century, that they are in agreement with one another, that they need to maintain their power. And the only way to do that is not to attack one another, but to attack their populations in secret. This is why you have the fake space program happen in all countries all over the world, all of these developed nations all over the world. And it's fake. And it's just basic attacks. The fake space program is attacks on the people of that country. Oh, this is what we're doing. This is the funds we're taking for space exploration, right? And they're really just putting it in their pockets. They're building a rocket that looks like it can go somewhere. And then once that rocket is built, whatever other funds go into their pocket, you guys, it's a tax. It's a secret tax. Just like with Corona, with all of the restrictions and the draconian rule structure that is put in place, authoritative and follow this, do that, jump through this hoop, 6 feet social distancing, stickers on the floor, masks. It's about power, it's being able to control the population. That's why everybody's willing, all countries were willing to adopt this, wild scenario for restriction, because it's an attack on the populations, because it benefits the government and not the people. Do you see what I'm saying? And so this is what this tariff war is about right now. It's about a secret way to attack your population. It's what China's doing to its own population, and what America's doing to its own population. It's only 1 degree removed, because everybody knows that if you tax the main importer of goods into your country, that it's not going to affect the government, it's going to affect the people, because the government is going to make the money off of the taxes. People are going to pay for it. Do you see what I'm saying? This is just the sneaky ways that they find to attack their own populations. And this is the hallmark. I always use this terminology. This is the flavor of the 21st century governing style. It's not country versus country anymore. It's country versus people, government versus its own people. That's what you have here. This is the war. The tariff war is a war against own populations. And I guess that's all I got. I've got 1% battery life left. So I believe I'll just go in and charge my phone, and I may jump back on here after a while. Shalom, shalom, you guys.